What up, Cyclone Nation? This is AJ Caldwell over at Cyclone Kingdom, here with my guy Owen from top tier Iowa State, and we are honored to be joined by offensive coordinator for the Iowa State Cyclones, Coach Tyler Roehl, this morning. Coach, thanks for joining on this morning.
No, I appreciate it. Good morning, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, we are excited to kind of have Cyclone Nation get to know you a little bit. You've been here before, with Matt Campbell before going to the Detroit Lions, and that's kind of the direction that I wanted to start with this morning because I think it's always cool to kind of hear someone's perspective about the NFL and what that experience was like. And so, how would you kind of describe that experience with the Detroit Lions? You're around guys like Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, Jameer Gibbs. Was it tough coaching? An Iowa Hawkeye tight end. I mean, you can be real with us about that, and then maybe like a David Montgomery story you got for us.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and the decision to leave Iowa State was hard, um, because of our love and admiration for the place, the community, knowing what it could be, um, what we had done that 24 season, and how special that was. The people that I was able to be around. Um, my family, the community in which, the school district we're up in Gilbert again,
Yeah.
but no, that was a hard decision. But at the end of the day, I just felt like for the opportunity to learn, grow with Dan, that staff, um, to be able to coach that position group, and you know, um, schools aside with Laporta. He's an unbelievable player, but at the end of he's a great person, a human being, and to be able to have just a small part in his journey, at the level in which he was playing at, up until that Commanders game, and then his injury, he'll be back. I know he will be. But like his tenacity, resiliency, football IQ, ability, unbelievable. And then another player in Brock Wright, Shane Zylstra, Zach Horton. I mean, we had a number of guys that year because of injury, but um, had an unbelievable position group to learn with that staff. Hank Fraley and I would sit and do the run game every single week, and to be able to see, you know, what and why the schemes that he wanted for certain defenses. For him to allow me to bring my ideas to the table and feel valued, uh, to be able to sit and go through situational football with Dan and present my ideas to Dan and the staff. I was in situational football level 900 for, an entire year. And
Yeah.
shoot, just some of the staff meetings would sit and talk about situational football. Community to live in was great. And at the end of the day, I learned a ton and was surrounded by great people. But when Jimmy called and talked about this opportunity, it was easy, um,
Yeah.
because knowing what and convicted in the fact that this place, we can do exactly what we want to do because of the people, because of the administration, because of the support, because of the fan base. Seeing firsthand what we were able to do in 24, but knowing what we can do here this year and into the future, that's what's exciting. And to be able to call plays again, to be
Yeah.
able to do it with, Coach Rogers, and, seeing and being around him for a bunch of years, um, that's what's exciting.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Any David Montgomery stories you got for us?
Oh my gosh, any time you want to gain, so I was in charge of short yardage, right?
Yeah.
And any chance you wanted to get a yard, just hand the ball to Demo, you know. But we were going back to Cincinnati, where he's from, and for me and Hank Fraley and Steve Oliver, who was in charge of kind of goal line, and we were going through a bunch of ideas, and you know, Demo was a quarterback in high school. And going
Yeah.
back to Cincinnati, he had never gone back and played in Cincinnati up to this point in his career. So trying to figure out, okay, where can we kind of put a little spin on, you know, this game, this plan for him. And so we had, you know, a little wildcat run. And then we had a little bit of a wildcat pass off of it down on the goal line. And so we were presenting the ideas to Dan, and we all kind of, you know, we tweaked it a little bit, and Dan put his spin on it. And then come to be, okay, we need to set it up. We need to call the run before the pass. But we got down to like the 2 yard line, and next thing you know, the pass was called, and Demo threw a touchdown back in Cincinnati, which was really cool. Really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a cool story. So this question, this kind of piggybacking off of what AJ said, that transition from Iowa State to the NFL back to Iowa State. When you got the call from Jimmy Rogers that he wants you to coach the offense, call plays, what was that like? For you, for your family, just coming back to Ames. Did you expect that? Did you ever expect, um, you know, at Campbell to really leave, or did you expect to maybe if he stayed have a job under him in the near future as well? So why don't you just tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of experiences in life that lead you to certain points and decisions that you have to make. And, you know, I had been
Mm.
competing against Jimmy for 15, 20 years, right? And have always respected and admired the ways that he had his defense ready to play. And we would communicate before games. True, we played against each other as players, but we would communicate as coaches, communicate before games. We would talk on the phone, and there was always a ton of respect for the way in which he handled not only himself, but the way he activated defensive scheme, and again how hard his players played. And for it to all come to fruition, shoot, on Saturdays as a coach in the NFL, that's where you have time. And
Mm.
my wife and I would sit and watch Cyclone games. We that's what we found ourselves doing on Saturday afternoons. And there was one particular day, I forget who they were playing. It might have been the TCU game. But we were looking at each other like, we missed that. It's just everything that involves Iowa State football. And it's just even for, my family, uh, being able to be with all the other coaches' wives and families and friends and tailgating, and how live and fun and energetic Jack Trice is. The game day atmosphere. I mean, it's and there was some other things going on at that time too in terms of like opportunities. And this again, I know I said it easy earlier, but this one was the easy one, and this is the one that we desired and wanted to be at. Um, I'll hit on it again. It's because of the conviction in the place and what it can be. This place has an unbelievable foundation. Matt did a great job here. Um, Shoot, the former players, former coaches, there's an unbelievable foundation for this staff, this team, these players to build upon. And ultimately, this was a long-term decision. Dan didn't want me to leave. Dan and I had a great conversation at the end of it. And I respect and have the utmost admiration for Dan Campbell and what he's been able to do with the Detroit Lions, the opportunity that he gave me. But for me to be able to, you know, handle everything offensively for Jimmy, help assemble staff, um, everything from the offensive standpoint, that's what I wanted. and I wanted to call plays again. And everything was in alignment for this opportunity. And for my family, for me, it's you could check every single box, and that's what's exciting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We are very thankful to have you. You mentioned you're just kind of being back and what foundation has been built that can help kind of spur Cyclone football on moving forward. We're in kind of a new era, so to speak, of Cyclone football, and Matt kind of building the best era that I think Cyclone fans have ever seen over the past 10 years. Maybe kind of share a little bit, just kind of within the building as much as you're willing to. What's kind of going on with the coaching staff, with the players? What kind of expectations can we expect for the offense moving forward? What should Cyclone fans be excited about? I guess is kind of what we're asking. Your personality is unbelievable, and just the way you've been able to articulate just kind of what a good offense looks like and what a competitive offense looks like. The all caps tweets that I see you post all the time. It's super encouraging, super awesome. So maybe kind of encourage Cyclone Nation with what this new era of Cyclone football is going to look like.
Yeah, you go back and you peel the layers back, and shoot, we've all been together about, call it 150 days. And
Yeah.
everything that has, the plan that we've had in place for those 150 days, to start, I mean, you're rebuilding a roster,
Yeah.
and the number of players that you need to bring in, but not just bring in. I mean, they have to fit this place, fit this staff, have the championship intangibles that we want. I didn't give, what about recruiting star or what school they came from. We didn't care. We wanted guys who, A, were high character, B, high capacity, and then C, had unbelievable work ethic and loved football and craved contact. And Ricky, his staff, Ricky, our GM, his staff, Coach Rogers, defensive staff, offensive staff, everyone just shoot pulled up their boots and got to work right away. And that's what's exciting because of the players that we were able to get. And then you fast forward to spring ball and, all three phases of the game, with, offense, defense, special teams being able to kind of install, establish identity. You have all these new personalities, offense, defense, special teams has some carryover. But you have all these different personalities that are in the room. My goal through the course of, kind of the winter workouts and through spring ball was to establish one mentality, and that's to play with physicality. And the spring practices were highly competitive. Shoot,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's trying to go out there and improve, what they're about, their level of their style of play, their talent, how much they, have learned the system. And it was highly competitive. And that's the urgency that we needed for us to grow as much as we did over the course of, from January, call it 19th, when we got on campus, or the 20th, I don't recall, to really where we're sitting at now. There's been a lot of growth, and I think for us, it was even more so about X's and O's, but just connecting as a team with as much new people as we have. And, the plan that Jimmy had, for us to grow and connect, right now in college football, the most connected teams win. And for us to gel, to come together, to have growth forward, that's that's where we need to continue to trend. Um, Kind of hitting on like what to expect offensively. My mentality and identity has always been surrounded by, you know, you control the ground, you control the air. And to be able to run the football and have identity and physicality and the multiplicity in ways you want to activate the run, be able to marry it up with the pass game. But you go back to my time calling it at North Dakota State and how we were able to have success there. I mean, it still goes into the players and being able to put those players, in position for success. And my first year calling plays had Trey Lance, and Trey was an unbelievable player. We had an unbelievable
Yeah.
offensive line. Trey was a redshirt freshman, and I didn't want to put him into many known passing situations, having to just throw the ball on 3rd and 7 plus, etc. And he was highly efficient, asked exactly what we wanted to do in the pass game, ran the ball well. We ran the ball well as a team. I think that year we might have averaged over 270 yards a game. And he had complete control of the offense, and as a unit, we just added more in the pass game each and every year. But as you grow through even my time calling plays at North Dakota State and the way in which we grew throwing the football, shooting 23, we're the most efficient passing team in all of college football.
Yeah.
And there was a lot that went into that. And, Cam Miller was an unbelievable quarterback for us. But you know, my mentality, physicality, and running the football. Marry it up with the pass game, efficient passing game, but being very multiple in the way in which we want to activate scheme, activate personnel, pre-snap operation, formation, yet stay simple within the schemes that we want choose to activate for certain defenses. And I mean, someone asked me, okay, what's the run pass going to be at Iowa State? What's the percentage going to be? And I mean, so you could sit here and say 50-50. You could say 60-40. But at the end of the day, whatever it takes to win, and
Right.
that's the best answer that I can think of, because there will be some games where we're going to have to run the ball to win. There's going to be games where we're going to have to throw the ball, and certain defenses are going to be able to, how they're going to want to activate to stop this offense. We're going to have answers, and we will have answers. This staff that we've been able to put together is one that is of high football IQ. And in no particular reason, just kind of go down the list, like Jake Thornton who I've known for many years. You know,
Yeah.
a job came up at North Dakota State, and at the end of the day, kind of going a different direction. It was the COVID spring season. Our O-line coach left. We needed to transition and get someone in fast. We had, kind of our season starting fast, and so I just promoted from within, and that worked out well. But Jake and I stayed in touch, and I appreciate him because he's got the right mentality for us in how we want to activate, our offensive run schemes.
Yeah.
Just making
Yeah.
sure this is
Well,
working here. You got me?
no, you're good.
Yeah, I think we're good. Gotcha.
Your
Perfect.
audio
Yeah.
is great.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
cutting in and out. It's just Iowa summer sometimes, I guess. But
Yes, and Coach Thornton, he did great at Auburn. Auburn was a elite offensive line, top 10 in the country last year. So, and you already kind of hit on this, but from day one of the Jimmy Rogers era, the talk of the town is basically, like kind of like you said, you want to run this pro style smash mouth kind of ground and pound offense. I guess I'm just wondering how that's been going. With the backs that you guys brought in from the portal with Cam Petaway and Ala. I know he got injured; he's out for the season. But who you were able to get there, and then holding over Aiden Flora as well from last year's staff. And how do you think having a mobile quarterback a guy who can create out of the pocket like Jalen Rayner will impact the offense.
Yeah, I think for us, with the backs, my familiarity with Aiden and what I know what he's about and know where he can continue to grow within the system. My level of excitement for him, not only just because, shoot, I already coached the kid, but I know I feel very strongly about Inflora, and I know what he can do and is capable of. And then you have Cam Pedway, and him and Aiden have similar style yet a little bit different. And his ability and how multiple he can be. All was playing at a high level up to injury. Easton Miller is someone people probably don't talk about, I think, enough.
Mm.
And shoot, I coached Easton and feel very strongly about Easton Miller. Excited for River Peppers to get back and healthy. And knowing what he's about and what he can be, and obviously that unfortunate injury. And I think, you know, the other additions, and you have, someone who kind of just came in after spring ball and a couple freshmen, what are they going to be able to provide to us? We moved Wyatt Archer over to running back during spring ball, and he did a great job. Having a mobile quarterback is huge from an offensive schematic standpoint.
But yeah, that was great having him on. You
Yeah.
listen to the way he responds to questions and stuff, and the very detailed, in depth answers he's able to give is great. And
Yeah.
analysis from a first year offensive play caller at Iowa State. Tyler Roehl is I wouldn't want anyone else doing it. Like we had on when he got the call when we found out that he would be the OC under Rogers and his first year staff. I
Yeah.
was I was pumped. I mean, a lot of people, just that connection, that Iowa State connection is something that you love to have, you want to have when you're building a new staff. And a lot of the coaching staff, has some sort of connection to each other. Like he said, just the familiarity, the football IQ they have. They wanted to bring in guys who knew each other,
Yep.
they had a plan and they would fit it, and they would fit it well. And just being able to build the staff from that kind of mindset and mentality is great. And so,
Yeah.
AJ, you have any thoughts here? I don't know if he's maybe his
No, I
device
mean, I was
died or
just gonna say, like,
something, but
yeah, the I mean, it's just summer in Iowa. Sometimes you don't know what you're gonna get, and that's part of living in the Midwest, which is fine.
do
But
better, MediaCom.
yeah, I know it's Medicom's fault. It's not his. So, but no, I just appreciate him coming on, man. It's just such a like kind-hearted thing to do, to come onto a podcast. And he's texting me right now. I think he's trying to figure out what happened to his connection, but it's okay. But we appreciate Coach Roehl coming on, and just the opportunity to hear from to hear from him, and to hear again, like you said, how he's thinking through stuff. It's been awesome to just see his fire and his passion. Like, I think we talked about, like, the previous administration, and just how, like, you got that a little bit for some of the coaches, but Matt Campbell didn't really give anything to you. And that's kind of what's interesting about this new era, is like Jimmy Rogers, Jesse Bobbitt, Tyler Roehl. Like, these guys are giving you the answers you want to hear, and that's really, really cool. They don't have to do that. I think Matt was more calculated, sometimes to a fault, but he was more calculated about the stuff that he wanted to share with reporters. These guys don't. They're just like, here's what we're doing, and here's where we're at. And it's just, it's awesome when you see that personality, and you see them just getting after it. Like I said, like, if you don't follow Tyler Roehl on X or on Twitter, like, you need to. Like,
Yeah.
he is an absolute fireball of emotion and passion and zeal for college football, and it's awesome. So again, yeah, just thank you so much to him, and what he represents for Cyclone football in this new era. And more to come, guys. I mean, we got a lot of interviews lined up with guys that you would not really expect. So let me just give a little PSA to all the Hawkeye fans, all the Cyclone fans are like, oh, you guys are no one listens to you guys, blah blah blah. We just had Tyler Roehl on our podcast, and we got more coming down the pike. So tune in while you still can. Stop being a hater. We got more coming. So we appreciate you guys. Owen, any final thoughts you got?
Yeah, no, we love doing this. This is great. And I think ultimately all the haters are just they're mad because we make some valid points, especially when it comes to the Cyhawk rivalry and stuff. And
Yep.
where even though it's a new coaching staff and expectations, at least from a billboard or on paper media standpoint. See, USA Today had Iowa State in their preseason poll at 16, which is dead last in the Big 12.
So did Phil Steele, by the way. I just got my preview magazine this weekend. So
Yes, yeah, Phil Steele does, and you can't it's hard to blame them for they're not doing it because they don't like Iowa State. They're just doing it because they just don't know, right? There's uncertainty, but I would have us right now anywhere from 13 to 15, maybe even 12 to 15, just because of the fact that Jimmy Rogers, kind of like Matt Campbell, can do more with less, and you look at what he did at Washington State, a first-year coach at Washington State, going 7-6 with 70 new players, with a team with no conference. It's just you and Oregon State, and 1/3, 1/4 of the NIL spending as Iowa State, and to go 7-6 to almost beat Ole Miss, to almost beat James Madison and all these teams, it's really impressive. And so, what's he gonna do at Iowa State and at a team with decent NIL, with more NIL in Washington State, and a conference that's just up for grabs. So it's not like you're in the Big Ten or the SEC with Alabama and Georgia and Oregon and Ohio State. You're in a conference that's 50-50. Anyone could win. I've seen people put out tweets and stuff and put out their predictions and their rankings, and are like, well, these are my rankings, but teams 1 through 9 could win it all. So I mean, heck, we saw Arizona State was picked dead last 2 years ago in 2024, and they
That's
won
a
the
good
conference.
point. That's a
They
good
won the
point, Owen.
conference. Indiana's the worst team in college football history from a statistics standpoint, from a record standpoint. And they got a new coach, they got a new staff, a new roster, and in 2 years they went to the college football playoff and won the national championship. And then you look at Wake Forest, you look at Virginia, teams that had 9, 10, 11 wins last year. These are teams that have sucked historically.
Yep.
Well, these teams aren't going to be sucking anymore because of NIL, because of the transfer portal. It doesn't matter. You could rebuild and in 1 year go to the college football playoffs or have 10 or 11 wins because you can get those players just like that, with experience, with football IQ, with a will to win immediately. And that's exactly what I think Coach Roehl and Jimmy Rogers and staff is going to do. So, with that being said, it was a great pod. Loved having him on. Shout out to him for joining on there. So, hope you all have a good rest of your day. And as always, roll clones.
Roll clones, baby.